Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. And we missed 1 week, and now we're back waiting for David Kazarian from the IQ Mortgage to join us on today's live. And we will be talking who is moving to Nevada and why they're doing so, because there's a lot of crazy news in the media. In the media, it actually keeps on telling our customers that, oh, nobody is moving, nobody's selling, there's no inventory, which is all true. There is still. Good morning.
Good morning,
Good morning,
Alexandra.
David. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing excellent.
Okay.
Thank you for joining me this morning and
Absolutely.
agreeing to talk. I would like the talk of today's conversation to be who is moving, why they're moving, where they're moving from, and what are they buying? Because there's a lot of conversation in media saying that, oh, nobody is buying anything right now, prices are too high, interest rates are too high, but there is still a lot of turnaround going on. So we don't want our sellers to be discouraged. If you need to sell, go ahead and place your house on the market. And of course, for the buyers, there are plenty of strategies. So David, what kind of loans and what kind of customers do you see today coming to talk to you and getting loans?
So it's mostly primary homes, Alexandra, meaning people buy homes to live in predominantly. The rent, in my opinion, is not quite high in Las Vegas, and obviously tenants will disagree with me. So with these high interest rates, investment loans are not as feasible, so we're not doing as many investments, even though we're doing some. So it's mostly owner-occ. I think that's how the Fed wants it. I think that's how the government wants it. They want more people to become homeowners, and that's what we're doing right now.
So right now, the majority of the loans that you see are owner-occupied. Is that true that the owner-occupied loans, they have lower interest rates than the investor loans or the second home loans?
That's absolutely true. Or I would say they have higher interest rates for second homes and investment homes. And on April 1st of last year, that kind of flipped because second home technically is still an owner-occupied home. It's just not your full home. I am in my second home right now, which I don't rent it out. It's my vacation house. And when I bought it, the interest rate was, the same as the owner-occupied home. But on April 1st, of last year, I believe that was April 1st, they flipped it, and now the second homes have the same interest rates as owner-occ, and there can only be one motivation behind it, is discourage second home purchase so they can help out people to buy more owner-occupied homes.
David, can I confirm something? They flipped it, and now the second homes are higher. They have the same
in interest rates
as the investment home.
Yeah,
correct?
So it was closer to the owner-occ. Now it's closer to the investment, technically. Yes.
Okay. Is it still lower or no?
Lower.
Slightly lower. Is the interest rate slightly lower than for the investment property, or no? It's going to
same exact rate. No, it's
the same exact rate.
I haven't priced one out, but it should be the same loan level price adjustments. It's ugly.
So, David, can you briefly explain to our listeners what is owner-occupied house, what is second home or vacation home, and who can have it, and what is the investment property in the eyes of the
say hi to my long, many years client Anna who just joined. She works at the Paul Mortuary. Yeah. So hey, hello. Owner-occupied. Owner-occupied means that what your intention is what matters. What are you going to do with this loan, with this property? Are you going to live in it? So when you get an owner-occupied home investment, which obviously is cheaper than the investment, the owner-occupied home, you're basically promising to live in it for 12 months, and for that you're getting a better interest rate.
So once again, we're saying that when we qualify the property as the owner-occupied second home or investment property, we're talking your intention within the next 12 months.
12 months only. 12 months only. This is a very important distinction that most people don't know. David, am I stuck with this house? Do I have to live here for the rest of my life? Will I be able to rent this out at some point? So 12 months is the magical number with any occupancy for that matter. Even if you buy an investment property, you have to rent it out for 12 months and then you're allowed to move into it. So 12 months is what you need to honor from the date of your signing.
Yes. The status of your property.
Yeah.
Excellent. And what we're looking at a lot over here, and I was looking at the data, who is moving. And apparently, one of the biggest clusters of the movers to Las Vegas, and Las Vegas actually took the #1 place among the cities where the baby boomers are moving to retire.
Yes.
Yes. So we're one of the we're one of the top destinations, and we're actually #1 destination for the baby boomers who are looking to retire, and they're moving here to Las Vegas, regardless of our hot summer weather at the time, and regardless of the fact that on average our the expenses, the living in Las Vegas is actually 11% more expensive than throughout the average of the country.
I'm just waving to my friends that are joining. I apologize. I'm not.
I'm glad your friends are joining. I'm glad your friends are joining. So, and something that I noticed that baby boomers are right now, they're the generation of 60 plus. And they're
the wealthier generation. So come on over, guys.
Yes, they're the wealthiest generation. They were actually the biggest buyers in 2021 and 2022. And there is a chance that they might be still the biggest cluster of buyers in 2023. We'll see this data next year. However, what is important for us, and I think the reason why their buying decisions are more solid than anybody else is because they already lived through 30 plus years of being able to buy the house, and they already seen at least 30 to 40 years of history of mortgage rates. And so
ups and downs, yes. Yes.
Exactly. And that's why for them, it's not the interest rate of 7.5 right now is not actually freaking them out, because through their lifetime, they bought and sold homes at a higher interest rate. Those who were buying at the beginning of 80s, the end of 70s, they were buying the properties with the interest rates in a double digits.
So
and
true.
I'm talking double digits, not 11%. I'm talking 13, 16, 17. At some cases, there were 18.5% interest rate. So for those people right now, when they're looking at 7.5, they're not that scared. They're not. They feel more confident, and they feel more. And they feel more motivated knowing that the rates are at some point are going to go down.
So, I made the comment in one of our prior conversations, that I am noticing that the older the person, they're less concerned they are about the rate. They know the nature of rates, that they're going to drop at some point. They have this understanding of, if the money is expensive now, they need to buy now. Because no matter what you think, properties are cheaper. They're not cheap. They're never going to be cheap. They're never going to be cheap, but they're cheaper. Once money drops, once the price of borrowing drops, which will happen hopefully late this year, sometime next year, that process of the downslope starts, the prices will just take off. And what they'll do, they'll refinance. But if you have, I don't know, like a memory of a butterfly, if all your memory and your knowledge goes back to 2021, the 2.5% of 2021, you're just going to freak out in this paralyzed mode. I'm just going to wait for the 2021. Well, that may not come back for another 30 years. So by all means, I think that contributes, Alexandra, to millennials buying more homes is because they know this is a decent time to buy.
Well, I would say that if people are still looking and waiting for 2021 to happen, I would say they need to take a closer look at what was actually happening. I just had this conversation with one of my clients who said that, oh, I think I want to wait for the lower interest rates because I want to put a low down payment. And I asked him to look into the data through the pandemic years, how many people with the minimal down payment were able to buy the house. And the answer is almost none. If you guys are waiting for the interest rates to go down, you need to know that there is a correlation. And the correlation is
Your
the lower the
offer's not going to get accepted.
the lower the interest rate down goes, the lower the interest rate goes, the higher the price is going to go. And if you're hoping for the interest rate to go closer to like 5%, 4% would probably be a little bit delusional. We're probably not going to see neither 4 nor 3%, but 5% is pretty reasonable and doable. But what is going to happen the moment the interest rates go down, you will see the frenzy on the market, and you will have to stash on that cash in order to put at least 20% down. Plus, you're going to, if you're going in the first wave of frenzy, you will have to probably beat a few more offers. You will be in the multiple offer situation, and you will be most likely compensating the difference between the appraisal value and the purchase price, because in the multiple offer situation, in 90% of the time, the one who puts the bigger price tag is going to win. Is that what you were experiencing during the pandemic?
I love that stash on that cash. That was so cool. Absolutely, Alexandra. Absolutely. So lots of people could not become homeowners in 2021 just because they had the low down payment. The minimum down payment, 3.5% FHA buyers and 5% down conventional buyers. Some realtors wouldn't even work with them. So that was how bad it was. They wouldn't even take them knowing their offers would not get accepted. This is the perfect time.
Absolutely true.
This is the perfect time for those people to get out and start shopping, in my opinion.
Yes. And so if you are one of those people who is hoping for to come into the home ownership with the lower down payment, your time is right now. I know the interest rates don't look pretty, but the prices are reasonable. The sellers are still reasonable, even though our inventory is actually lowering every day, and we're going, like, we're not at the pre-pandemic level, but we're coming closer to it. We're at 3,600. Our pandemic level was 2,600 units. Right now we're at 3,600 units, which is still, which is still low, and we have to compare the demand of pandemic and the demand of today's. It's absolutely two different things. But what our listeners need to know is that if you're shopping in a lower price category, and just to give you the comparison in the time, like at the time of pandemic, the lower entering, the first time home buyer, average price was $290,000. Right now, we're at, for the first time home buyers, the average price is $340,000. So we are $50,000 more. So for those who are hoping for the price crash, I hope that you already got the idea that the prices are not crashing, that we did have a great opportunity to negotiate. We had wonderful 6 months where the sellers were very, very open-minded, and we're providing our buyers with the closing costs. We're still asking for it. We're still working our way to negotiate those things, but we're not we're not seeing that many contributions anymore, and I'm pretty sure that David, you would confirm it with the loans that you're
No,
seeing right now.
no. I told you last time I had a client who overpaid $26,000 on top of ask price to come in at number 8 to get the house.
Mhm.
He's signing today, but it's that crazy. It's that crazy. Forget. There's not
And
enough homes on the market, so the sellers get multiple offers. They get cash offers, full ask price cash offers.
absolutely. And but David, let's everybody knows about the problems. Let's talk about the solutions.
Yay.
So one, we're here to talk about the solutions. So one of the things that I wanted to make sure that our buyers are very, very clear on. So the situation that I had come up several times within the past few months is that we don't have the resale inventory. The resale inventory is not that pretty,
Yeah.
and people are starting to look towards the new home builders, but of course, new home builders are offering incentives. New home builders are offering like those what seems to be great interest rates, but also new home builders, they only offer 3 products to the consumer. So your file has to be perfectly square to qualify with the new home builder. You have to be either the perfect FHA, VA, or conventional. So, and a lot of people think that if they don't go to the home builder, they won't be able to, like if they don't take the loan from the home builder, they won't be able to buy the property. And today I want you to actually break it down for everybody who is listening. Can you finance the new home builder homes?
Absolutely. We can finance new builder homes, Alexandra. Not only do we finance new builder homes, since their in-house lenders are so spoiled, uh, they sometimes don't close the loans because they don't do a full pre-qualification or preparation in the beginning. And once those escrows fall out, we pick them up and we close them. So absolutely, we close new builder homes every month, several a month. And yes, and
And,
yes.
this is very important, and I'm glad that you mentioned it. That, guys, if you are in a contract with the new builder, remember there are things that your earnest money deposit becomes non-refundable within the first 5 days of you entering the contract.
That,
And
like,
yes,
I apologize because this is for me. I've never really kind of all the builders. Is it like kind of across the board, five
yes,
days?
yes, 5 days, five
Even if
calendar
you go
days.
into a 6 month
Correct,
period of building a
correct,
house, in 5 days your EMD,
correct.
isn't it
Your
a bit
EMD,
unfair? I mean, an existing home that you get to do an appraisal today, your EMD is contingent about the appraisal or loan contingency part, like 17 days, 20 days, whatever. A new build house that you get to close in 6 months, you don't know what the rates are going to be in 6 months. Your
correct.
EMD becomes non-refundable in 5 days.
So your EMD becomes non-refundable in 5 days. Obviously, if you're trying to get a loan, you're going to have 30 days loan contingency. If it is 30 days, I've
Okay.
seen everything. I've seen everything between 21 to 35 was the longest that I've
Understood.
seen for the contingency, and that is it. That is it. So if your house is going to be built 6 months down the road, if your house is going to be built 9 months down the road, and if God forbid you don't qualify anymore or something went sideways with that builder, you change builder lender, you change the job, you switch something. Yes, this is exactly what is going to happen. You're going to, if you do not take care of your loan, if you do not find an alternative lender, if you do not go to the lender that can actually close you can lose your deposit.
Wow.
And this is something that we experienced last year, like in 2022. One of the things that a lot of my buyers were able to do, we were able to negotiate some exceptional prices with the new home builders in October. In September, October last year, and my clients were like, oh, why are they giving those houses away like for like with such a huge discount? And the truth was that it was a standing inventory that somebody actually entered into a contract for at the beginning of the year. It was January and February, and when they were entering those contracts, their interest rates that they were looking at were at 4%. And by the time when the house was built, mind you, that the house was built, they put the earnest money deposits. Some of the builders also charge people for the upgrades. So some of those clients of the new builders who were in the contract and could not close their loans by September, October 2022, they were not only losing earnest money deposits of a few $1,000s, they were as well losing their money that they paid for the options. So those were some of the very nicely upgraded homes. So on average, the person were losing anywhere between $12,000 to $37,000, and
Yes.
that's why.
Can I tell you a sad story?
Absolutely.
On this beautiful morning. So we had a client. I know her. I like her. I've done her taxes for many years, and I've known her family anyway. She's a nice person. Anyways, and she came in around taxes in February-ish. She was like, David, I saw this house, $800,000 with the builder. I have to have this house. So I'm like, okay, we'll do it for you. We work with her tax person. She had to make like $250,000 or something. We're like, okay. And she's like, David, no, I'm not ready to pay so much in taxes. She went to the builder's loan officer. The builder's loan officer said, don't worry about it. All we need is $120,000. She's like, David, I'm going to go to them because they want me to make 120. You want me to show twice as much as income. She went to them. Her EMD was 40,000, and this opportunistic loan officer obviously not doing the full scope of work that was required, and possibly not even understanding the types of businesses that she owned and layers of income. They couldn't close. Was the builder's fault. She lost that $40,000 EMD as if it was her fault. They'd never give back to her.
And this is something that if those of the folks that are listening to us right now or in the recording later on, if you guys want to take something out of this video, take this. Never go to the new home builder unrepresented. Never, ever, ever. It doesn't cost you anything to go there with the buyer's agent, the independent buyer's agent who is going to advise you and who is going to have
Absolutely.
the required knowledge of the contract and who is going to protect you and your money. Guys, people think that, oh, what could be easier than buying a new home? Actually, buying a new home is more difficult than buying a resale. And I had this conversation with attorneys because usually when my clients get this contract, they ask me, oh, is it okay, like if I only have 5 days to cancel it, is it okay if I send it to my attorney? And I say, oh, absolutely, please do by all means. And I encourage my clients to send the contract to the attorney. And I give them the heads up what the attorney is going to say, and never yet I have been wrong on what the attorneys are saying. The attorney is going to say that the builder's contract, unlike the resale contract, is 100% protects the builder rights and does not protect the consumer rights at all. And if you would, it is a very one-sided, quite a biased contract that is written, unlike the resale contract that you would be dealing with, like our 11-page contract if we're working on the secondary market. So that contract, sure.
I was going to say Analogy that comes to my mind is the beautiful homes that they build and all these designer homes, and you walk in there, it's like you're walking into a trap because it's so nice, right? You get trapped, and it's important to mention, Alexandra, that it does not cost the buyer anything to be represented by a buyer's agent. It just doesn't cost anything extra. Get a buyer's agent.
Absolutely.
You're not paying for the services of a professional like Alexandra or whoever you may choose. But I would suggest Alexandra. But again, for legality's purpose, you could choose whoever you want. There's 21,000 agents in Las Vegas. It does not cost you anything. Have a professional represent you and protect you and read the contracts for you. Someone that knows how these things are done. Someone that has closed houses, sold houses in this neighborhood, and possibly knows some of the salespeople.
I mean, somebody
Right?
who actually reads that contract and is familiar with all of those clauses and can actually break it down for you what it means. An average builder's contract runs between 70 to 300 pages long. Honestly, not even many people are going to go through and to read through it and understand it, let alone comprehend it and know what exactly it means for them. So
Yeah.
this is exactly what we do. We read your contract, we build your timeline, and we let you know this is when your money becomes non-refundable. This is when we have to take care of the loan. And this is the type of the incentives. These are the things that we need to do. Like these are the important dates. These are the important notices. And I know that when you work with the new home builders, you guys go through a totally different process, and it is not a similar process as you go when you're helping our clients with the resale, because you actually report to the builder and you report to the builder in a certain way.
Correct.
Which I remember having a conversation not that long ago with Andre, your processor, who said they're borderline asking for too much information, too much private information on the client.
That's true.
And this is where we have to get the client involved and actually see if we have the permission to release this information or not. But it is a different process. However, one of the things that I really, really want everybody to know is this, and we went through it with the Pulte and American West homes, guys. And this is something that may cost you a lot of money if you don't know it. So once you negotiated the incentive, and a lot of builders right now, they're saying, we are giving you the incentive of an X amount of dollars to buy down the interest rate. So, and some of the builders, they go really large. They go like $10,000. They go $20,000. So once you have it in the contract, and when you're represented, your realtor is going to make sure that any incentive that you are receiving or that you have been promised is actually right there in the contract in writing. So guys, once that incentive is in contract, in writing, and if God forbid you're not qualifying with the builder's lender, guess what happens? Your realtor is going to take that incentive to another lender who's going to actually close your loan.
Absolutely.
I can take that incentive, and guess what? And at that point, David is going to close this loan with the same low interest rate because it costs him, like, you guys all shop at the same store. So it's not like the builders lenders are shopping at a different bank for the lower rate. They're just applying that money. And so this is something that I want everyone to hear and everyone to know, because here's the story that I get presented with at one of the events that I attend. So we talk, and the and the conversation comes to the new home builders and the incentives. And this lady, she starts telling us how she entered into the contract, and she was going to get this this money to buy down the interest rate. She doesn't qualify with the builder's lender. She goes, gets her loan outside, and she is stressing out because she got a higher interest rate because she went with the one of those no doc loans, which had a higher interest rate. And my actual reaction, I was like, why didn't you ask for the builder to apply the incentive? Like, I'm like, you could have taken that money, that $20,000, and brought down the interest rate still. I'm like, why didn't you do that? You should have seen the shock on her face. I think I ruined, not a day, I think I ruined the months of this lady's life.
Oh my God.
When I told her, I'm like, you were supposed to go back to the builder, or like you and your realtor. And she's like, oh, I didn't use one.
Well, duh.
Nice. I'm like, nice. And that is the reason why you didn't use one. You did not use a representation. You decided that you do not need professional representation for free. And for that, you were going to pay, and she said something like 9.75 interest rate, for the next how many years, that until she refinances. But it did make her sick, and she was hoping that I was joking. And I told her she doesn't have to believe me, but that is the truth, that she just left $20,000 on the table for herself. And this is unfortunate. I'm not, and this is what I want everybody to know. Using a realtor means using the professional services. It doesn't only mean the realtor. It also means a good loan officer. It also means a good tax person. Using a professional, the number one reason why you would use the professional is so that you don't have to research the information. You don't have to spend your time on research, and you get a professional advice on time when you need it, not after the closing. Who cares about the professional advice after closing, after it already cost you money? Nobody wants to hear what you could have or should have done.
Alexandra, this reminds me of a conversation I had with two of my very close friends. They were with me in Washington this weekend. We had a very nice weekend here, and interestingly, we had this conversation. They both own businesses. They both own 10 plus rental homes. They're well off, right? And we had this conversation because they're like, especially in this new culture, in this new internet era, this new generation, lots of people shop, and they think that they're shopping, they're getting a better deal. And what I have noticed is the person that instead of shopping, shops once, not necessarily for the better price, but for the better professional in the relationship, comes out ahead every time, every single time. So if you're calling Yelp and shopping for the better interest rates, and then next time you buy a house, you do the same thing, and then the next time you do the same thing. You don't know who the loan officer is. You never meet them in person. You do your taxes on TurboTax. You don't go back to the same realtor, the one that you like and trust. You shop for that too. And you do this with your tax person, with your lawyer, with your loan officer, with your insurance person. You just shop yourself out into lonely zero relationships, thinking you're coming out ahead in life. Those people don't, unfortunately. My experience shows that the people that actually value the relationships and of the professionals that they surround with, that's a team. That's such a potent, powerful team. If I, as a loan officer, can work with as the buyer, your good realtor, and your CPA, we collaborate. There's nothing we can't do in this market. And the wealthy people understand this. The wealthy people value the relationships of good professionals, and they surround themselves with a good team, an army of very potent people. I do have clients like that. I'm on their speed dial for any question they have. I'll answer their question at midnight. And I'll give them the best advice. If I can't, I'll go out of my way to find the best advice. But if you shop me a couple of times, get in line, man. Get at the end of line. You're not important. Do you understand? And it goes back to saying relationships are so important. It's a two-way street.
It is absolutely, and this is one of the things why I love mentoring with you and your team, is that because you guys will always find the time for our customers and you always answer their questions. And it's not once that we had the situation happen before when I have my clients who have mortgage and investment questions, and even those who are buying cash, they just need to educate themselves.
Yeah.
And they would ask me if I know somebody who they can talk to, and you know exactly who I'm talking about, this wonderful lady, and she called me and I said, I'm going to connect you with one of my loan partners so you get more information, you get more informed on the subject. And the first question that she asked me, she's like, but I'm not buying anything. She's like, I just bought a property. I'm not buying anything right now. I'm like, but you need the advice of the professional, correct? She's like, yeah. She's like, but is he going to talk to me even though I'm not buying anything this year anymore? And I told her, of course, the answer is yes. So, and after you guys had a conversation, she called me back and she told me, you know what, Alexandra? Said she was so impressed, and she told me that if she ever buys, or if anybody wants to buy, let alone whenever her kid's gonna buy their next property, she wants them to work with you. And
now I know what you're talking about.
And this is the phone conversation that I had with her. She said that I might not buy like this particular year, but I know who I want to work with because I value the advice, I value the knowledge, I value my time. And it's something that I repeat to my clients a lot, is that there's a price tag on everything. And when you are talking about shopping, yes, guys, you're more than welcome. Like, you should shop, go ahead and shop. But here's what you're going to, not going to miss, but I want you to think about it when you go shopping. We always, when you're shopping, especially online, the online marketing is targeted to show you the next shiny thing. So the online marketing and advertising is not going to be there to break down the true, real costs of your loan. And, there is this big online mortgage company that everybody knows, and I'm not going to name. And they, for a very long time, and they're still advertising that they're providing you with the lowest interest rate there is on the market. So now, guys, remember, everybody shops at one store when it comes to the mortgage rates. It's not like somebody can go and pull you a loan right now at 4% conventional loan. It's not going to happen. So stop living in that dream. Everybody shops in the same store. Am I correct, David?
Absolutely. And the Fed funds rate is like over 5.5%. So there's no 4% anymore.
So there is no such a thing that you're going to get a loan, or you will be able to buy it down to the lower interest than the Fed rate at the moment that you're buying. It is just not happening. This is not how the loan industry works. Nobody's going to sell you that loan. But anyways, when you guys are shopping, you forget that the advertisement does not disclose. The advertisement is there to attract you. And when this big mortgage company advertises that they have the best and the lowest rates, they really give you the rate. But what they forget to tell you is that they're charging you for this rate. And when you get down to almost the closing of your loan, and they provide you with the disclosure number, what is it called? Closing
disclosure. CD, the closing disclosure.
Closing disclosure. When they provide you with the numbers, you will be surprised. You will be surprised if you actually are aware of what it's supposed to cost. If you don't know any better, you're going to pay it and you will have no idea, no slightest idea that you just paid extra $5, $6, $10,000 to buy down that interest rate. And this is like this almost happened to me when I was refinancing my home years ago, where they definitely beat everybody with their interest rate. But I would hope that when you're working with the realtor and you realize, you guys look at my taxes, you know what I do for a living, so you know I read those numbers and I know how to read those papers. So when you out of a sudden charge me extra $5,500 or whatever it was for the interest buy down that you did not actually talk to me about, you just told me, are you happy with this interest rate? And I said yes. But I never was told that I was paying for it. And this is the trick, and this is the trick. And the other person who probably didn't know how to read those closing disclosures, they would not notice. They would just pay it, and they would think that they got a great deal. And, you know, like, and so be it. But this is one thing that you are not going to get when you work with somebody that you trust, somebody that actually you look into their eyes. So I don't think that you ever had a situation like that in your company, David, where people would be surprised that they pay for something, or there will be a surprise expense on their closing disclosure.
We disclose the ugly and the unpleasant as soon as possible, rather than late. So we're going to explain it. We're going to show it to you. We're going to compare different banks and show you what the market costs are. But integrity is not for sale. So we will never, and we know what makes people think that you're not telling the truth. We know what the bait and switch, the exaggerated numbers at the end of the closing table. That cannot happen. That cannot happen. We do everything for that not to happen.
Absolutely. And I know that you guys go through a lot of beating right now, because it is not a happy place when we get to those closing disclosures. They're ferociously expensive right now, guys, ferociously expensive. But when you look into the long run and when you think about it, how long you're going to own your house, and what is your entry point? Whatever it is, if your entry point into owning that asset is 3%, 5%, 10%, 20%, whatever it is, remember that for a fraction of a price, like anywhere between 3 to 20%, you're buying an asset that is going to appreciate long term, and you're actually going to capitalize and to collect on 100% profit of that asset appreciation. And this is very important, because when people sell their homes within like 2-3 years and they get this difference, they get this delta into their pocket, a lot of times they think, oh, of course, I was paying my mortgage down. Well, guys, in 2 to 3 years, you're only going to pay a fraction of it. If your mortgage payment goes down by $15,000 in 2 to 3 years, you are very lucky. Of course, depending on the purchase price of your home, but it's not the reduction of the principal that brings you that profit. It is actually the depreciation of the asset that makes.
I would argue it's both together. And you take both together divided by how much your down payment closing costs were, you see your return on investment, which is why I've built that calculator to demonstrate it to people that, on the contrary, you want to buy as many houses as possible.
David, can you please tell me a little bit more about your calculator? Is it free to use? And what does your calculator do? I know what I do with your calculator when I talk to my clients, but I would like to hear from you, because I love the idea that you thought of it, and thank you so much for putting your time, effort, and of course your finances into creating it so that the public could use it.
So public uses it, they appreciate it, but the calculator I built so I could have a tool to demonstrate and talk about certain things when I do face-to-face consultations at our conference room. And what it is, basically, it demonstrates the numbers and the correlation of those numbers in this 30-year time period that are quite complicated and hard to understand, because there's one factor changes, the others change. So it's quite complicated. But how do I demonstrate to you what your rent and payment difference is? And it's quite unattractive, and you're going to opt in for renting, whereas you really have the only thing you're, Alexandra, referencing it to or comparing it to is the mortgage payment. But if I were to tell you that if you were to choose the more expensive mortgage payment, that house would appreciate more, that's one thing, appreciation. That's rule number 4. There's David's 6 rules of investment. That's rule number 4. Rule number 2 says your every mortgage payment pays down your principal. That may be $300-400 a month, no big deal, but it does accumulate quite a bit. And
it's a compound effect.
Absolutely, and you add that to the appreciation. That's so much money. And if for the smart people out there, if you take that and compare it to your minimum down payment, your closing costs, all of a sudden you could have up to 70%, in some cases up to 100% return on investment if you treat it as investment. Now, I had a very, very smart software engineer a couple of months ago. He's like, David, but if I continue renting, I'm going to take this $1,000 and invest it into S&P or whatever, and I'm not just gonna. So why don't you tell me how much this home appreciates, and also tell me if I could stay a tenant, take this $1,000 and invest it at 7% S&P. I could do that. I could break and analyze and dissect those numbers for you and tell you that, you know what, if you don't invest it in S&P, you're positive in 2 years. If you invested in S&P, the home buying still beats S&P, only takes 3 years, 1 extra year to beat it. But how do you demonstrate to those extremely smart people with actually visual demonstration?
Well, first of all, we cannot talk about investing into the S&P. We cannot talk about investing into anything but the real estate, because this is the product that we specialize in, and neither David nor I have license or
That's true.
licensed investment advisors, or God forbid stock investment advisors. So we cannot actually talk a project that.
I wouldn't tell him to go invest in S&P. Okay, alternative X product that you'll use a 7% rate. I don't know. It could be your grandma's pie shop. I don't care. If you invest $1,000 a month, gives you a 7% return on investment. So we take that compared to the home. That analysis, I'm pretty sure I can make, because I'm not telling them where to invest.
And this is this question comes up a lot when people compare what they pay for rent. And right now, yes, for the last year, when you compare the rent payment of the same home and the mortgage payment of the house of the similar value, of the similar features, you're going to have a higher payment as far as the mortgage. And a lot of people would say, oh, I would be saving by renting. I am saving an X amount of dollars, $500, $700, right, maybe $1,000 at some cases. Right. But guys, and it would be wonderful if you were really saving it, if you were really taking that money and putting it, at least putting it into a separate account. But does it really happen so? Does it really happen so that you are saving it, or you're just having this spare money and you're going to spend it? And so many people right now throughout the country are opting into renting instead of owning, and the credit card debt is the all history high. I think it is about like our credit card, nationwide credit card debt is about $1 trillion.
Wow.
And guess what is going to happen, guys? This $500 that, or whatever X amount of dollars that you're saving, you're going to go spend it. And what is going to be worse? You're going to spend it on a credit card first, and then you're going to pay an interest rate. So you're actually not saving, you're digging yourself into a higher debt where whatever you're buying with this extra $500, you are probably eating it, wearing it, or I don't know, watching it on TV, like maybe playing into PlayStation, whatever, like whatever you're buying with this $500 is something intangible that is not bringing you any, like that is not working for you, it is working against you. And I hope that you're not spending that money like on buying some stuff with your credit card. So investing and home ownership, it's a long-term game. And the sooner you enter into it, the better it is for you. And I'm so happy to see our first-time home buyers getting younger, and younger, and understanding at the early age that they are going to go get their first like owner occupied home with the minimal percent down, live there for a year, and move again because they're young, they don't have any kids, and moving for them it's not such a hassle as it would be moving for myself or for David.
Here's a thought, Alexandra, I've been thinking about, and I agree with you that the younger generation is very, very informed. Here's a thought. If you have to work for your money, and obviously you have monthly bills and we know our budgets, everybody has a budget, we think about it, then the decision whether to buy a house, it always goes into the monthly payment. The monthly payment, can we afford it? Because whatever's cheaper, we default for that because we default our car, grocery, we know our numbers, we know our monthly income, and we're like, can we fit into this? If we cannot, then we're gonna rent this 2,000 square foot house for $2,000 or whatever, because that's our lifestyle. We have 2 kids. We would never buy a condo and move back into a condo. And you understand the conversations. Yeah. You know exactly what's happening. In my opinion, and this is, I've seen this over and over and over again. It doesn't matter what your cash flow is. You could make $1 million a month. The cash flow that comes in, it really depends what you do with it. If you're gonna, I think no matter what your cash flow is, you're really considered wealthy on assets that you own, not on your cash flow, which means your decisions with what you do with the cash flow. Are you investing in an appreciating asset or are you investing in a depreciating asset? This is what I talk about. I'm not being an investment advisor when I ask these questions. Just what are you investing your money into? Because a rent is certainly not an appreciating asset. It's not an asset, it's a liability. If you buy something, now that's an asset. It has the characteristics of appreciating. So own something. Once you own something and you see the return, that you're going to think about owning it again, owning another one. Does that make sense? So wealthy people own something. Not so wealthy people think about making more money and higher cash flow and frankly just wasting it. So assets is what makes a person wealthy, not the cash flow.
And if I were to encourage our listeners to do one thing, only one thing, and of course, like you said, looking at that monthly expense bill is very important. But you will never see the final destination if you only look under your feet. So that said, if you only consider in your financials, the only thing that you consider is your monthly expenses, and you're looking to save this few $100s today, this month, and you're not looking into the future, you are doing yourself a misfavor, because this is what the calculator is actually that we're talking about, and that you can absolutely find on David's page. So when you look into this calculator, it actually opens up the ability for you to take a pick into the future, and it gives you the perspective what is going to happen with your money within the next year, 2 years, 3 years, and 5 years. Of course, when you are looking at saving a few $100s every month, it sounds like a very rewarding activity right here, right now. What you do with those few $100s, that's a different thing. But when you look into the long run and you see that owning the asset within like 2 to 3 years, you are actually coming up ahead. And within 10 years, you're way, way more ahead. This is what is important. The important thing is to plan long term, and that's why those tools are there for you. David, is your calculator free to use?
It is free to use. It is on our website. It's called Wealth Accumulator, iQRateMortgages.com. There's a tab called Wealth Accumulator. Use it, and it does demonstrate how much your net worth, your equity built will be in the next 30 years. And I honestly overheard something on the internet attributed to Bill Gates. I don't know. I'll have to Google and say what it is, Alexandra. This is so interesting. It says most people overestimate what they can make, what they can do in a year, and they grossly underestimate what they can do in a decade. The real estate is a very rewarding long game. So, and my calculator does allow you to see that and plan for it, because ultimately cash flow, our job, our business, whatever, the only purpose for it besides our daily expenses is to acquire assets. The only purpose for an asset is to give us cash flow, add to our cash flow, so we can buy more, go back and buy more assets. So it's this round thing. You work, you make money, you buy an asset, this asset adds to your money, you go buy another asset, thus your asset increases, increasing your cash flow, and the only thing you do with the cash flow is buy more assets. And that's what we want to talk about instead of talking about rates and down payment assistance, which,
I think rates are going to change, and you will, as none of us is getting younger, and as we go along the line, you realize that even though we wish to, but we will not be able to increase our income all the time. Inflation is going to increase. Inflation is going to eat our money. The prices are going to go higher. Think about it. Like, go back into the data. Google how much the homes used to sell for in 80s, 90s. Yes, the salaries were lower, but the housing prices were also way lower. So nothing is getting cheaper as we go through the life, and our income is not going to increase all of the time. You cannot just always put more time into work or get another job. I mean, like, for how many years are you able to get, to work overtime or to get a second job? I don't know, ride Uber, whatever people do. So you don't have the infinite amount of time and stuff. If anything that I want to tell to our listeners is that, take care of your assets and figure out how you can buy the smallest asset one step at a time. Just go ahead and buy it. Use the calculator if you need help with the calculator. If you just want to play around, if you just bought your house and you think you don't need it anymore, I would strongly encourage you to still go to the page, use the calculator, and actually see what a great decision you have made. Put in the numbers. You put the numbers, you put the numbers of your rent that you used to pay, put the numbers what your house is worth, and you will see if you have any doubt or if you have any of your family members or anybody else telling you, oh, this was not a good decision. You know what? Stop collecting opinions. Rely on data. Go plug it in and see what you actually done and when you're going to see your good decision pay you back. Is that?
I concur.
So thank you, David. Thank you for always being an extreme and valuable source for us. Do we have more of your friends joining?
Yes, my wife's cousin. Hello.
Wonderful. We're very grateful that your wife's cousin is joining us. It's great when you have a big family.
Yes. Thank you.
And like in the tough times, they can all be your clients still.
Yes.
Thank you, David. Thank you
so
for
much.
having your team always there for us, for our customers. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Alexandra. Take care. Bye-bye.
See you soon. Bye.